Hello, I am Pompeii. I want to tell you my story. Not just a story of stones and streets, but a story of life, hope, and time. A long, long time ago, over 2,000 years, I was just a small town near the sea. My home was the land between mountains and water. The sun shone warmly over my hills, and the sea brought fresh air and gentle waves. People came to live here from many places. Some are farmers who worked the rich soil. Some are fishermen who sailed the blue waters. Others were traders, bringing goods from far away. Together, they built homes with stone and wood. They made streets, markets, and places to meet. My town was not large, but it was full of life. Every day, the market was busy and noisy. Farmers sold fresh fruits and vegetables. Fishmongers shouted to sell the catch of the day. Potters and blacksmiths worked in their shops. Children ran and played between the buildings. Neighbors greeted each other with smiles. In the mornings, the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Women baked bread in small ovens. Men and women worked in fields and workshops. Families ate together, laughed together. Life was simple but happy. The streets were narrow and winding. Stone houses stood close to each other. Many had gardens with flowers and herbs. Water flowed in small pipes and fountains. The air smelled of sea, flowers, and cooking food. Pompeii was near a great mountain, Vesuvius. At that time, Vesuvius was quiet and calm. People respected the mountain, but did not fear it. They saw it as part of their world, a big, strong presence watching over them. I saw many generations grow and live here. I saw children learn, play, and grow strong. I saw lovers meet and promise forever. I saw friends help each other in times of need. Every corner of my streets held stories. I remember the festivals, too. People celebrated the gods and nature. Music, dance, and laughter filled the air. Temples opened their doors to prayers and offerings. Life was connected to the land and sky. Trade was important here. Ships came from far places, bringing goods and stories. Spices, metals, cloth, and pottery traveled through my markets. I was a place of meeting, exchange, and life. But life was not always easy. Sometimes storms came from the sea. Sometimes illness and hardship touched the people. Still, they stood strong, built new homes, and hoped for better days. I was a town of many voices and many dreams. Simple people with great hearts. I was their home, their safe place, their beginning and their world. And I was proud to be Pompeii. But this quiet, peaceful life would soon change. The mountain would wake. The sky would darken. My story would turn forever. For now, though, I was still a quiet town, waiting for the sun to rise, waiting for new days. Part 2, Life in My Streets. Hello again, this is Pompeii. I want to tell you more about my life, my streets, my people, my daily rhythm. When you walk through me, you can hear the steps of my citizens. Feel their laughter, their worries, their simple joys. My streets are narrow and twist like a maze. Made from stones, smooth from years of footsteps. You will see small shops on every corner. Bakers, fishmongers, blacksmiths, and potters all working hard. The smell of fresh bread and roasting meat fills the air. Every morning, the market wakes with the sun. Farmers bring fruits like grapes, olives, and figs. Fishmongers carry fish caught from the sea before dawn. You can hear the voices of merchants shouting their prices, trying to sell their goods and make a living. The people here know each other well. Neighbors greet with warm smiles. Children run and play ball games in the streets. Some children carry small baskets to help their families sell in the market. The houses are made of stone and wood. Many have colorful walls painted in red, yellow, and blue. Inside, there are beautiful mosaics on the floors, pictures made of tiny stones. Gardens with flowers and fountains bring life to the homes. Water flows through pipes made of clay and lead. Fountains in public places give fresh water to all. The streets have drains to carry away rainwater and waste. People work hard from sunrise to sunset. Blacksmiths hammer iron into tools and weapons. Potters spin their wheels and shape clay into pots and jars. Women weave cloth and make clothes for their families. Evenings are full of sounds and stories. Families gather to eat, talk, and rest. Sometimes musicians play flutes and drums. The smell of cooking food, fish, bread, vegetables, fills the air again. My people worship many gods. They pray to Jupiter, Venus, and Apollo. Temples stand tall in my center, places of hope and faith. Life here is simple, but full. Every stone, every street, every corner has a story. I'm not just a town made of rock. I'm a place of life, dreams, and memories. But behind this busy, happy life, the mountain watches quietly. Vesuvius sleeps, but I feel its power deep inside. This is my story, the story of Pompeii, the city before the storm. Part 3, the people who lived here. Hello, it's me again, Pompeii. Now, I want to tell you about the people who made me alive. I am more than stone and dust. I am their home, their laughter, their stories. My streets were filled with many kinds of people. Some were rich, and some were poor. Some were free, and some were slaves. All of them share my space and made me what I was. The rich lived in large houses called domus. These houses had many rooms, decorated with beautiful paintings and mosaics. They had gardens with fountains, where flowers grew and birds sang. The wealthy loved to show their power and taste through their homes. Some even had private baths inside their houses. The poor lived in smaller homes, often crowded and simple. Many worked hard as farmers, builders, or market sellers. Slaves worked for their owners, doing many jobs. Some slaves were craftsmen, others worked in the kitchens or as helpers. The streets were alive with voices. Merchants shouted to sell their goods. Children laughed and ran through alleys. Women gathered to talk while carrying water or shopping. Men met at the forums to discuss news and politics. Families were important here. Parents taught their children how to work and respect the gods. Children learned by watching adults and helping in small tasks. Friends shared meals and stories at the end of long days. Markets were busy places. You could buy fruits, vegetables, fish, pottery, cloth, and tools. Traders came from distant places, bringing spices, silk, and metals. Money changed hands, and deals were made. The city had many craftsmen. Blacksmiths made tools and weapons. Potters created beautiful ceramics. Weavers produced cloth for clothes. Builders worked on new houses and public buildings. Religion was part of everyday life. People worshipped many gods and goddesses. They offered gifts and prayed for health, success, and protection. Festivals were joyful times with music, food, and dancing. Part 4, Gods and Temples. Hello again, this is Pompeii. Today, I want to tell you about the gods who watched over me. Religion was very important to the people who lived here. They believed that gods control their lives, the weather, health, and the future. Many gods lived in Pompeii. Each god had a special job and power. Jupiter was the king of the gods. He controlled the sky and the thunder. People prayed to him to keep the weather good and protect them from storms. Venus was the goddess of love and beauty. Many people loved Venus and asked for her help in their relationships. Apollo was the god of the sun, music, and healing. He brought light to the world and helped sick people get better. People built beautiful temples to honor these gods. The temples were large and strong. They had tall columns and big doors. Inside, statues of the gods stood proud and silent. Every day, priests and priestesses took care of the temples. They lit candles and burned incense. They offered gifts like food, wine, and animals to please the gods. People came to the temples to pray, ask for help, and say thank you. Festivals were special days to celebrate the gods. People dressed in their best clothes. There was music, dancing, and feasting. Sometimes they held games and competitions. These festivals brought the whole city together. In the center of Pompeii was the Forum. It was a big open space surrounded by important buildings and temples. The Forum was the heart of the city's religious and political life. People met there to talk, trade, and worship. There was also a large temple for the god Apollo. It was one of the most beautiful places in Pompeii. People believed Apollo gave them health and wisdom. Another important temple was the Temple of Jupiter. It was tall and grand, near the top of a hill. From there, people could see the whole city. Religion gave people hope and comfort. They believed the gods were watching and protecting them. When hard times came, I saw weddings, births, and funerals. I heard the laughter of children and the songs of women. I felt the strength of the people who lived here, but I also felt their worries. Sometimes there were fights and arguments. Sometimes people were sick or hungry. But mostly, life was full of hope and dreams. These people made me who I was. Without them, I am only stones. With them, I am a city full of life and memories. I want you to know them, to hear their stories through me. They prayed for help. When good things happened, they thanked the gods. I saw many prayers and ceremonies. I felt the power of faith in my streets. The gods were part of daily life here, and their stories live in my stones. This is the story of the gods and temples in Pompeii, a story of belief, hope, and the human spirit. Part 5, the Festival and Theater. Hello, this is Pompeii again. Today, I want to tell you about the festivals and theaters in my streets. Life here was not just work and worship. There was also fun, music, and a celebration. The people of Pompeii loved festivals. These were special days to enjoy, relax, and thank the gods. Festivals happened many times a year. Each festival was for a different god or a special event. During festivals, the streets were full of color. People wore bright clothes and masks. Music played loudly from flutes, drums, and lyres. Singers and dancers performed for the crowds. Children ran happily, and everyone smiled. Food was an important part of festivals. Families prepared special meals with fresh fruits, bread, and meat. People shared food and drinks with their friends and neighbors. Sometimes there were big feasts that lasted all day. The theater was a special place in Pompeii. It was large and open, with stone seats for many people. People came to watch plays, music, and dances. The theater was a place to learn and enjoy stories. Actors wore masks to show different emotions. They told stories about gods, heroes, and everyday people. Some plays were funny, making people laugh. Others were serious, teaching lessons about life. The festivals and theater helped people forget their worries. For a while, they could enjoy joy and friendship. They could feel proud of their city and culture. I remember one festival called the Ludi Apollinaris. It was to honor Apollo, the god of music and light. People gathered with songs and prayers. There were games, races, and performances. It was a time of happiness and community. During festivals, the city felt alive like never before. The sounds of music and laughter filled the air. Even the walls and stones seemed to smile. But behind the joy, the mountain watched quietly. Vesuvius stood tall and calm, waiting. These festivals and the theater were part of life here. They show how my people lived, loved, and celebrated. And I am proud to hold their memories. Part 6, Mount Vesuvius, the Sleeping Giant. Hello again, it's me, Pompeii. Now, I want to tell you about a very important part of my story, the mountain that watched over me every day. People called it Mount Vesuvius. I called it my sleeping giant. Vesuvius is tall and strong. It stands near me, with its peak touching the sky. For many years, it was quiet. No smoke, no fire, no rumbling. The people who lived here respected Vesuvius. They knew it was powerful, but they did not fear it much. It was part of their world, a great presence in the distance. Farmers worked the rich soil near its slopes. The mountain gave life to the land. Sometimes the ground shook slightly. Sometimes small clouds of smoke rose from the peak. But these signs were small and rare. Most people went about their lives without worry. Vesuvius was beautiful in the sunlight. Its green trees and plants covered the sides. Birds flew around its peak. At sunset, it looked golden and peaceful. But beneath its calm surface, the mountain held great power. Power that would soon change everything. I often wondered what the sleeping giant was thinking. Would it ever wake? Would it roar and shake the earth? People told stories and myths about Vesuvius. Some believed the gods lived inside it. Some thought it was a door to another world. But no one truly knew its secrets. The mountain was a part of my life. It gave me beauty and danger. It watched silently as people built their homes and lived their lives. As time passed, the mountain grew restless. The air smelled different. The earth trembled more often. But still, the people did not understand the danger. They believed Vesuvius would stay asleep. I watched, waiting with them, waiting for the day the giant would wake. Part 7. The day the sky turned dark. Today, I will tell you about a day that changed everything. A day when the sky turned dark. It was August 24th in the year 79 AD. A day I will never forget. The morning began like any other. The sun rose softly, warming my streets. People woke up early, ready for their work and daily lives. Fishermen sailed out to sea. Farmers tended their fields. Children played in the alleys. The market buzzed with voices and colors. But something was different that day. The air felt heavy and strange. The mountain, my sleeping giant, seemed restless. A faint smell of sulfur was in the breeze. Some animals became nervous and ran away. People noticed these signs, but did not understand their meaning. They thought it was just a small warning, nothing more. They continued their routines. As the morning passed, the sky changed. A dark cloud appeared near Vesuvius's peak. It grew bigger and bigger, stretching high into the sky. The cloud was black and thick, like a tree with many branches. It covered the sun, making the day look like night. Smoke and ash began to fall like rain. The air filled with dust and darkness. People looked up, scared and confused. Some covered their heads. Some prayed to the gods for help. Animals screamed and ran through the streets. The wind blew fiercely, carrying the ash farther. The ground trembled with small earthquakes. People realized something was very wrong. Some tried to run to safety. Others gathered their families and belongings. The rich hurried to their villas. The poor tried to find shelter. But the mountain was waking up. Its power was strong and wild. The ash covered everything: homes, streets, trees, and people. The air became hard to breathe. The sky stayed dark, blocking the sun for hours. Time seemed to stop. People could only wait and hope. I watched in silence as the disaster began. I felt the fear and confusion in every corner. This was just the start of a terrible day. The mountain's fury was not over. Part 8. The eruption. The mountain no longer slept. Its anger woke with a loud, violent roar. The sky above turned dark with thick ash and smoke. The ground shook beneath my streets. People screamed and ran, searching for safety. The eruption began suddenly and with terrible power. Hot rocks and ash flew high into the air, falling like burning rain. The air was full of dust, making it hard to breathe. Some tried to cover their faces, but the ash was everywhere. Lava started to flow down the mountain's sides. It burned everything in its path: trees, houses, and streets. The heat was so strong it melted the stone. People ran as fast as they could, but many were trapped. Clouds of poisonous gas spread over the city. They moved quickly and silently, invisible but deadly. Breathing became difficult, and many people fainted. Fear filled the air like never before. The sky remained dark for hours. The sun was hidden behind the thick clouds of ash. Night seemed to fall in the middle of the day. Some tried to climb higher to escape. Others sought shelter indoors, hoping the walls would protect them. But the ash kept falling, piling up on roofs and streets. Some buildings collapsed under the weight. The sounds of chaos filled the city. People shouted, cried, and called for loved ones. Animals howled in fear. I felt the destruction inside me. My streets were covered with ash and debris. My walls shook and cracked. My heart broke for the people who lived here. The eruption lasted many hours. When it finally slowed, a heavy silence took over. The city was buried under a thick blanket of ash and stone. Life stopped. For centuries, I slept under this blanket, waiting for the world to find me again. Part 9. The city buried. After the mountain's fury quieted down, silence took over me. My streets, homes, and people were covered by thick ash and stones. The city was buried beneath a heavy, gray blanket. The ash was soft at first like dust, but as hours passed, it became heavy and hard. Roofs and walls collapsed under its weight. Streets disappeared, and the familiar places were lost. Many people could not escape. They were trapped inside their homes, in the streets, or near the shore. Some tried to hide, but the ash and hot stones found them. The air was filled with smoke and poisonous gases. Time stopped for me. I was frozen in this moment of disaster. No more laughter or music. No more busy markets or friendly greetings. Only silence and stillness. The sea, once calm and blue, became dark and quiet. The waves washed ash and stones onto the shore. The boats were lost or broken. The mountain, my sleeping giant, returned to silence. But this silence was heavy with loss and sorrow. For hundreds of years, I stayed hidden. Under the ash, I was forgotten by the world. My stories, my people, and my life were lost in time. But nature is patient, and so is history. Over centuries, the ash hardened like stone. It preserved my walls, my paintings, and even the shapes of my people. Archaeologists would one day find me again. They would uncover my streets, my homes, and my stories. I waited quietly beneath the earth, waiting for the day when I could speak again. Part 10, Rediscovery. After many centuries, I was found again. People call me Pompeii once more. It was the 18th century, long after I had fallen silent. One day, workers digging near the ground found something strange. They saw stones and walls beneath the earth. Curious, people began to dig carefully. They uncovered streets, houses, and objects, things from a city lost in time. Archaeologists came to study me. They worked slowly and carefully to learn my secrets. Every day they found new things: paintings, tools, furniture, and even the shapes of people who lived here. These shapes were made by filling the empty spaces left by people's bodies in the ash. They showed how people stood or lay during the disaster. Some looked peaceful, some frightened. These shapes tell a silent story of that terrible day. The more people learned about me, the more amazed they were. They saw how life was here before the eruption. They saw homes decorated with beautiful art. They learned about the markets, the temples, and the theaters. I became a window to the past, a place to understand the people who lived long ago. I am a city frozen in time. Many visitors come and walk my streets today. They see my ruins and imagine my life. I tell my story again and again, but I also remind people of life's fragility, how quickly things can change, how important it is to remember the past. I speak to you through these stones and stories, and I hope you listen. Part 11, What Pompeii Teaches Us. I am Pompeii. Through my story, I want to teach you many things. I am not just old stones and ruins. I am a lesson from the past. My life was full of joy, work, love, and faith. My people dreamed and lived like you do today. They laughed, they cried, they hoped for the future. Their stories are not so different from yours. But I also teach about the power of nature. The mountain that slept beside me was strong and dangerous. It changed everything in one day. It reminds us to respect nature and be ready for its surprises. I teach about time and memory. Even after many years, I am still here. My stones, my art, my streets tell a story. We should remember history to understand who we are. I show how people lived long ago, how they built their homes and cared for their families, how they worshipped and celebrated life. I connect the past with the present. I also teach about loss and hope. Though I was buried and forgotten for centuries, I was found again. My story was given back to the world. This shows that even when things seem lost, there's always a chance for new beginnings, for discovery, for learning. So, when you walk through old places, remember me, Pompeii. Listen to the stories beneath your feet. Respect the power of nature. Cherish life and time. My story is your story too, and I hope it helps you live wisely and kindly. Part 12, a final reflection. Now, as my story comes to an end, I want to share some final thoughts. I am Pompeii, a city of life, memory, and lessons. Though I was destroyed, I still speak. Through my stones and ruins, I tell you about people who once lived here, about their hopes, their struggles, and their dreams. I want you to remember that life is fragile. Time moves quickly, and things can change in an instant. We should appreciate every moment, every friend, every family member. Nature is powerful and sometimes unpredictable. We must respect it, learn from it, and prepare for it. History connects us all, By listening to the past, we understand ourselves better. We see how people before us lived, loved, and hoped. Pompeii is not just a lost city. I am a bridge between past and present, a reminder to cherish life and to never forget. Thank you for listening to my story. May it inspire you to live fully, kindly, and wisely. Until we meet again, remember me, Pompeii. Thank you for joining me on this journey through my story. If you enjoyed hearing Pompeii's voice, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And please let me know in the comments which place you'd like me to talk about next. Until next time, take care and keep listening to the stories around you.